really anything you can utilize.
Ming.
Always just being a threat, zoning them away a little bit.
Yeah. And none of the engage for Gen.G outside of Kube is hard enough and consistent enough to threaten a Rakan. Everything is telegraphed that he can just W backwards, jump to a teammate. Ming gets to play this aggressively because of how few point-and-click crowd controls there are. The mid-lane siege continues, and consistently they must defend this RNG sort of pressure as Uzi can knock down that turret if you give him enough time. Top lane finally does fall, but half the gold gets lost. No one's there for that 250 local.
All right, Gen.G trying to clear out all of this vision that RNG set up through their own jungle to allow themselves the opportunity to keep Cuvée up there, keep this Trinity Force completed Camille, in that isolated situation. It just makes it so difficult because, as Officio mentioned, Rise Realm Morph is ready. Xiaohu's constantly threatening the transition from bottom to mid.
And this map setup makes the Lulu pick useless because she's stuck in a 1v1 lane that she can't win, and therefore she can't even use her ability to like speed up an Olaf or something, but he can run forward and set up a play. You have Ardent Sensor as well for Ruler, but you're stuck bot lane in this lane here. So Gen.G, once we get like a map reset where RNG decides to recall, go back and spend their gold, that's when Gen.G will push out the lanes, and then they have to try and make a play as a group with Ruler and Crown together near an objective, because they can't just wait for this Camille. It takes too long right now for Cuvée to get in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Gen.G being pushed in on all sides right now. RNG not letting up on the pressure, not allowing them really, an opening to set up any sort of surprising play. Clouddrake is on the way, and we expect RNG to complete their reset here as we see the recalls from Let Me and Ming get off before this thing gets into a place. And they should be able to go claim that one for themselves.
Waiting for that next play. Clouddrake has spawned an RNG already in the river. They've recalled the team. They're coming in about 5 to 10 seconds. And CoreJJ going to face check into this. Uzi going to push him a little bit back in respect for Ruler.
This is what we just talked about. RNG resets. They go back to base. CoreJJ and Gen.G get a chance to move into the river. The problem is they're sitting on a lot of gold. Almost every member is above 1,000 gold in their bags. They haven't been able to go back and spend it, except for CoreJJ. But that's what happens when you get pushed in all three lanes. Sometimes you have to take a fight, even without the perfect setup.
Meanwhile, Let Me on this Scion has completed the Thorn Mail at 23.5 minutes already. And he is going to be a huge nuisance in the front line. So, as we expected, RNG do collapse on it. They finish off the Drake, but the fight might still take off.
But Sion's well positioned. He's in the front line. The flash engage, a nice ult for Ruler, keeps himself alive, but the Pain trains the front line. There's a stun on Braum. They don't get the kill just yet. Karsa's gonna flash. He kicks in Ruler, but no kill just yet. Haru gets his kill into Karsa. It's jungle against jungle. 2 kills picked up as Uzi goes down. Kube finds the assassination. Finally, Xiao says, okay, it's on me. They turn one back, but Gen.G win the fight.
Insane counterpunch here from Gen.G, and they're able to outplay that fight. They take down Uzi so quickly. No flash even goes off. And now it is a 4 versus 3 situation. RNG still pushing up, though, and it looks like we're going to have Haru come join defense on this turret.
Well, they get a bit of damage on it. Oh, CoreJJ stepping forward next to Q.
Yeah, there's no engage tools, though, with Braum ult down, so they feel safe enough despite it being a 3v4, but they do force the slightly slower recall, and they've got the team back on the map now.
And remember, this is, again, Gen.G with a lot of gold in their bag, still taking the fight. What ends up happening is they spend so much on Ruler, even Karsa goes for him instead of taking the easy kill on the Braum, and then Cuvée from behind kind of shows up out of nowhere, and no one can protect Uzi.
Yeah, he gets right back, sticks onto Uzi, uses the ultimate, knocks away Ming and Xiao, who's there buying time for himself. They eventually answer with the flash, but I just want to emphasize how difficult of a fight that was for Gen.G. There is no way they win front to back. This Scion is fully stacked. He just went back and purchased. He's the only guy who spent all of his gold. Plus, he was one of the most fed members in the game. So they worked around him. That was such a creative way for them to get around the huge wall that RNG had set up. But also, I think RNG just jumped the gun there. A little bit too fancy.
Greedy, yeah.
They didn't need to get that fancy.
No, if you're RNG, because you have this fed tank you just mentioned, Kobe, you can literally just focus on killing the enemy front line first. You don't have to dive in and kick back the AD carry and overextend.
That first engage, though, I mean, he didn't have QSS yet for Ruler. He got the ult off just in time to dodge Ming. If Ming hits that RW, I think that's a kill straight up. It's a 5v4 and there is no follow through. So really tight margins. I understand why they tried, but props to Ruler for being completely on point.
The caliber of the players in this game is the highest in the world, Freak.
Yes.
And those are the types of plays that we have come to expect from these players.
Oh, bot lane, look at this here. A lot of damage from Xiaohu. Kaza, he's spotted.
Okay. Cuvée is in a 1v2 now as Rai's going to show up with the Realm Warp.
No!
And that's not a good hook shot. And he's got to run. He's a little bit speedy. He kills some minions, finds a slow kick into the wall. And where can Cuvée go? He's flashed down. He's trying to get some move speed, hitting some of the minions. And just running and running and running as far as his sword legs will take him. Another slow still running. Xiaohu soon to be in range, but can they chase? And keep in mind, he's maybe got the damage. No, Xiaohu gets the burst, a good kill on the side lane.
And you can tell, Gen.G, we're like, with hands up in the air, what else can we do? Maybe Baron move over, nothing they can get done. Just a scuttle grab and some control words get down. So that's a very good pick from RNG with no answer possible from Gen.G.
But RNG on their side now, IH just got completed for Uzi. Nothing on the other side because Ruler had to go QSS. You just want to fight so badly if you're RNG at this point with your strong tank and now your strong AD carry.
Again, front to back, and he's working on another completion here as well. This Scion is going to be so incredibly tanky. As you said, true damage crits will come through from Uzi, and we know the story of late game Sivir bouncing those blades through the entire team. We'll see though, Gen.G still have a lot left in them. Rise for pushing on bottom sides, making them react.
Yeah, we see Cuvée on his way back towards that bottom lane here. It was actually really interesting in the 1v1 or 1v2, I guess it was. Kaza didn't want to fully commit, knowing the damage this Camille can still deal towards him. Sure, she's still behind in the game, but we've already seen the Q nuke.
Yep. I mean, the way that they have to navigate the team fight from Gen.G's side is around this Scion. Here we go, though. 2v1.
2v1 this time against Xiaohu. They might get revenge. Let Me is here. The shields are pretty big. The knockup's coming, and a TP is joining. Now for Gen.G, they might get more. Xiaohu's dead. Uzi chasing in the core. JJ, but might get turned around. He's slowed, and Haru is here. He's got to flash away, but stays alive. But now Let Me is trapped.
Here we go.
This could be 2 kills for Gen.G, and they found themselves right back into the game.
Cuvée gets his revenge. He is making this Camille work. They find the pick. That is 2 more kills for Gen.G.
The first deaths for Let Me and Xiaohu, both of whom were very far ahead in their matchups. A big factor in the win so far, but now the gold is tied and Gen.G run right for that top river.
And Uzi lost all his summoners because he tried to help when the fight was already over. If Gen.G start the Baron, they can collapse and not know they're keeping Cuvée bot lane. He can take down this turret while RNG trying to defend mid. What a huge turnaround. Crown on the Lulu, joining the fight. This Camille is suddenly getting really, really strong.
Such a huge proactive play there from Gen.G to be the one to get the early advantage, 2v1ing that Rise, getting such a big health advantage that even when the teleport came in from Let Me, they had already done so much that they were able to take out big DPS source, and no one else from RNG had an easy route.
But just before the fight, we said, listen, RNG, they just want to get a team fight right now with the strong AD carry, but instead, it becomes the split-up skirmish where Lulu Camille are just way stronger in the 2v2 than a tank that they don't even care about because it's all about killing the Rise.
Exactly. Gen.G's motive is to go around the Scion, not through him. So they split up the team. They can kill him when he's isolated. Cuvée making good use of the second activation, true damage from Camille off of the Q to find that kill. And RNG need to keep it together if they want to actually take this victory and stay undefeated in the group. Their focus seems to be framed.
They need to 5 versus 5. No more 2v2s, 1v1s in the side lane. Camille, she is too strong at this point.
And Cuvée, you can see the damage from that fight, his double kill. This is a player, I think, above anyone else who gets a Worlds buff. He is a decidedly middling top laner in LCK until he comes to Worlds, and then he beats the World's best.
Yeah, or the Gauntlet to get him to Worlds works there too.
Once Worlds is in the title, he becomes the best top laner.
Definitely agreed. You guys said I was going to have to wait a while. Well, now we're here. He's got the lifesteal as well with the Ravenous Hydra upgrade on his teammate, so he can quickly clear the wave and make the first move for Gen.G. This is the time in the game where we're waiting for, where we get to see the power of splitting them across the map. He can push out a side wave and try and force RNG to split up back into these skirmishes that Gen.G favor.
See what happens around their mid lane, because Let Me stayed here for quite a while. That means Cube gets free push bottom side.
Oh.
Anji's answer normally is going to be start at Baron, because Let Me has no TP. Xiaohu can go bot with his TP and stop him, but he's recalling right now. The Warden will actually spot him. They're probably going to stop his... Yeah, there we go.
The Camille split push just continues. No one's on that side of the map just yet. It's going to be really big damage.
And this is really sloppy by RNG. That is not respecting the split push whatsoever.
2 members are actually going over there. They had Xiao and Cyan moving over, but then they call off the play because the tower's already dead. And Gen.G gets some more gold in their pockets. It's not even just the split push anymore. This is completed death cap on Lulu.
They're coming mid now.
Look out for this one. Here comes the collapse and rises a little bit later on this play. Kube doesn't go for it, and now Xiaohu is back.
Yep, careful. You don't want to mess with the full 5-on-5. They do complete their defense here for RNG, but as I was about to say, the Lulu really making Ruler an insane threat. The true damage crits are at the point where he can actually get through this front line now that we've been talking of the whole game. He's got the added attack speed, move speed as well coming through, and you can see him trying to get those feathers down.
But we've now seen, and RNG probably will learn very quickly, that if you sit mid lane with your team, you have to start committing to either the turret or the Baron to actually force Cube to not just push bot lane. You need to force him to move from bot to join a team. What happened before here was RNG sat in mid, decided not to do anything with it, and then realized too late, hey, someone needs to stop this guy bot lane. A Baron play must happen soon, otherwise Cube takes you in him.
Remember earlier when we were saying RNG was getting too fancy with their team fight around Dragon? Now they have to get a little bit fancy. They can't just do the standard walk down lane because Gen.G aren't giving them that timing window.
All right, well, waiting for the next mid-game play, though. 33 minutes in, RNG on 3 Drakes. Gen.G have a mountain to themselves. Elder Dragon, of course, coming up next. Baron's been alive for a while. In the side lanes, looks a little bit Gen.G favorite, pushing in towards RNG's base. Push down in the mid lane. RNG keeping that turret alive so far. Yeah, from 28 minutes onward, it's been Gen.G, and again, Ruler gets the ult off in time. Good dodge against Ming.
This guy has been so good at denying Rakan engages. He does it here again. Those are only 2 cooldowns traded, though. Actually, Slimmer ultimate was also used, and they're taking
big damage on Uzi, down to 1K. That was actually huge and massive. Courtney J was crit, but it's bigger than Uzi is now so hurt.
They also just sent him up to take the farm on top side because he was so hurt. He'll try and lifesteal off it. That means only 4 members defending mid as Gen.G start to collapse.
And we can just see how much damage they can deal here and how much protection Lulu can also offer to Ruler. His ult is on cooldown, so if we get another engage from Ming, Ruler cannot get out of it straight away. QSS also on cooldown.
One of the funny things about Lulu mid. Early on, base damages, nice in lane. Mid-game, definitely could be a liability, but the late game scaling that she adds to your marksman, if you have one of these world-class AD carry players empowered by the Ardent Sensor Lulu, it just brings a whole new level of threat to that damage output.
And here comes the dive. Courtney J is far to look for Ruler. He flashes him, but he's still been caught. The knockup. They're going to try to knock down Saya, and they get it. It's a 5v3, and the chase is on. Trout is running, but he's nowhere to defend the base. The turret's going to fall.
That was insane. We just talked about all the cooldowns for Ruler. He couldn't get away. Cube is now TPing away. He's not taking the inhib.
He can't race in time. He's got to come back to the base. So it's a 3v5 defense. RNG to start duo to keep the first minion alive. They're going to try to clear it. They're going to go for the kill. There's Camille on the backside, and it's not going to be enough. Another kill comes up. A double for Uzi, and it's time for the turret. They've got the shields. They've got the damage. They've got the 4 kills. They will wear it down. And RNG, a 2-0 start to Worlds, the defending champions, 0-2.
What? You could call that a fancy Scion ultimate straight down mid, I guess, Officio, because that was the key to victory. They just run it straight at Ruler, chase him down, past the turrets, even with the flash. The Scion ultimate still going straight forward. He gets the kill, and RNG went straight to the Nexus.
But it's insane because Gen.G were defending so well. They got ahead in this game. They looked to be in the advantage in the driver's seat. They were taking, some good fights in their favor. And then RNG just called, wait, this guy, no ulti. Scion ult towards him, and Ruler tried to flash almost in a straight line out of it. Ends up being caught on his own, and what a call. That's what world-class teams can do.
Choo-choo, my friend, choo-choo! RNG, take that one straight to the victory screen. You make a mistake like that versus a team of this caliber, and you will be punished to the highest degree.
The LPL and Freight Trains name a more iconic duo. They got that dive to work, that end game play. This is just an amazing World Championship to watch so far. Gen.G starting out 0-2 is a shock to many. They tied for first in the regular season of the LCK. They had a great run through the regional qualifier. We know they're a good team. Their players get the world buff. They certainly played RNG close here, but to make that one happen, that was amazing. That last play I want to see again, the Acer Predator replay of Let Me closing out the game and finding Ruler there was absolutely the highlight of this one. This was amazing.
Yeah, this one, remember, all the mid lane turrets are still up when they start this, but he just runs it straight down mid, right at Ruler, who flashes and corners himself a little bit. Rise Realm Warp allows him to cut off the backside, minions go in, everybody jumps through to take down the Xayah and break this Gen.G composition from the inside.
I don't think any other team would make that call right there. Like, see that opening in the moment. There's a guy split pushing as well you have to deal with. And just take a sign ult from really far back, and you get to him, and you actually kill him. That was insane.
It was insane. That was up against the wall, but they made it happen. RNG 2-0 to start Worlds. And now for more on how today wrapped up, let's send it off to the analyst desk for Worlds Cooldown.
Thank you very much, Freak. Welcome to Worlds Cooldown. We could not have asked for a better matchup to close out the day. But the way in which that game ended, in an instant, split-second decision-making out of RNG, let me with the engage, in a game where it looked like Samsung might be finally wrestling full control away from them and might get their first victory on the world stage.
Yeah, and RNG has really good teamwork because that was a very well-executed split push by Gen.G for so much of the game. Just, you want to say it's like an anticlimactic ending, but that's just... It
kind of was.
That's how RNG wins games. I mean, there was a similarly hype moment in Game 4 of the MSI final where they flash engaged with Ornn and Malzahar on the AD carry to get that win, and even though it's just a group stage game, they did it again here.
And it's all calculated. That's my takeaway, Jad, is they listened to the comms and they had communicated. Uzi was actually the one with the timer that the QSS was still down in that game. When Prey was caught, in this particular game, we were watching the Siege a moment earlier and we were noting, oh, Xayah can't walk up. She doesn't have the Featherstorm. She can't walk up and she's afraid of Karsa collapsing. This was Ruler still without ultimate. The choo-choo train down the mid lane. It catches him. The flash wasn't good enough from Ruler. And while the game ends there and you feel like there was some Titanic fights that we missed, it was still RNG being calculated, being committal, and it was just an awesome, awesome game.
Yeah, because that's all it takes. Gen.G had done so much.
So much good.
To get to that point. They had weathered the storm, it felt like, from the Frozen Heart Thornmail Scion that was going to be unkillable with Lulu as your only magic damage, and made it to that point where Ruler was strong and they had sideway control, but RNG just had to land that one play and the game was over.
Without a doubt, as we roll through some of the highlights of the game, we see that it was very back and forth at different moments, having to cede certain objectives in order to get advantages elsewhere. I mean, without a doubt, this is top-tier play from two very high-quality teams.
I think both teams had their head held high after this game. Obviously, Gen.G yesterday would have been pretty crestfallen to lose the game they did. But here, you know, even when it came to the draft, we really liked the adaptations Gen.G did. It was pretty much mirroring what Frosk and I were talking about in terms of win conditions. When it all came down to it, it didn't even need an Uzi team fight. It was really about execution, specifically Let Me's ultimate that took it over. But so many little moments in Cuvée flexing on this Camille again and again. It made you think about the what-ifs. Definitely, they'll come away disappointed, but hopefully Gen.G is galvanized from this performance and not just feeling like the maths, the 0-2 is really the important takeaway.
I mean, Cuvée had a number of just incredible plays within that game alone. The avoid on the gank at level 6 in the top lane with the ult flash hook shot out, right? We saw that one really inventive team fight where things looked bad in the mid lane, but here's Cuvée down, you know, in the red side jungle, just kind of one-man army to salvage it. I mean, just I love watching him in the world's buff.
I know, very true. Across all of that, though, Uzi still had over 400 CS at 32 minutes.
Stop bringing us back down.
Doing his work. It's just what happens, right, with this unstoppable bottom lane, and that was as subdued as we've seen him in a while. And like I said, he still had 400 CS at 32 minutes.
He had 400 CS, but he wasn't leagues above Ruler in terms of team fights. It wasn't a game where you said, it was Uzi's contribution over Ruler that actually got the victory compared to, say, Asia games, where I know a lot of our viewers didn't get to see it, but that was Uzi just executing better than Ruler. This was a lot more even though Uzi got the farm. At this point, you always pencil it in. He's always going to get his farm. You win the game in another way than getting a CS lead over Uzi.
And it was interesting to see that the Sivir was the pick to come out. We saw the Kai'Sa targeted, which was interesting because there has been some discussion about when you're facing RNG, do you even bother targeting Uzi in the pick ban phase, or do you just kind of let it go? The Xayah gets picked away from him. Sivir the response. I just found that kind of curious.
Yeah, not only they actually weren't willing to opt into any of the Kai'Sa skill matchups, right? Because Uzi will win both sides of the Xayah Kai'Sa with the help of Ming. So it is interesting to see what his answer to that is. Teams will kind of, I think, put that in their back pocket, think, okay, he's going to go for Sivir in this situation, because we don't know how much the AD carry meta is going to evolve, but we know most teams don't actually force you into that level, and Uzi's answer is Sivir.
Without a doubt. Today, 6 more players stood out above the rest to become the MasterCard players of the game. For Game 6, RNG's Let Me earned the accolade, and he will join the likes of Flash Wolves' Betty, PVB's Big Koro, Fnatic's Caps, IG's Rookie, and C9's Jensen.
Yeah, really an exciting day of games all the way from the start. Flash Wolves jumping out to a 2-0, Big Koro helping Fengvu Buffalo pick up their first win. Caps and Rookie, who we're going to get to see face off tomorrow, both getting the Aurelia versus Syndra matchup and both taking advantage of that. So, really exciting day. No junglers or supports on the list today, just a lot of carry performances in the big tank right at the end.
In the big Titanic games, Jensen was the one who got NA their first victory. And I feel like really deserves this. He's on a team with so many stars that the MVP will so rarely go to a Scion player, but from the early Frozen Heart Ninja Tabi roams to the eventual ult at the end, he really was the difference.
Really cool to see that kind of the story of that game was a lot about the top laners. You know, Scion out to kind of an early advantage with that easy tankiness that he can build up. Ooh, now we got the scaling Camille. And then that one engage. That's all you need is one good engage to close out the game, and Let Me gets it.
And the best games of League of Legends, either they feel like a war is being played out, or it is a bit of a war of attrition, a bit of a boxing match. And this really did feel like a boxing match until the knockout punch on Ruler was what ended the game. So you don't always get all 9 rounds, but I think the analogy holds true in this particular game.
Well, to hear more about RNG's win over Gen.G, Avli is standing by with the victorious mid laner.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with RNG Zhao Hu, and tell me about that final engage, because we saw Let Me just running down through mid. So what was going on through the team comps, and what was going on through your head?
就是想问你最后那一波，当 Let Me 开车往里面冲的时候，当时就是队友是怎么沟通的，然后你自己是怎么想的？
因为最后一波那个霞是没有水银跟大招的嘛，然后我们原来的想法可能只是想打他个闪，但是可能入了选手闪现的位置也不是特别好吧，所以就后边也就有了去把他秒了的想法吧。
So initially they only was going for Ruler. So Ruler doesn't have his ultimate, and he also doesn't have Quicksilver, the QSS. So they only want to get a flash maybe out of Xayah, but he maybe misplayed the flash. Therefore, they had a chance to kill him and actually eventually ending the game.
And some people saw this matchup as almost a preview of 2 potential finalists. And now that it's over, who do you really think is your biggest opponent here at Worlds?
就大家之前可能就会觉得 Gen.G 和 RNG 会是最强的2个队伍，那么现在你们打赢了 Gen.G， 你会觉得你们下一个最大的对手是谁？
我觉得我们小组里另一位对手 VIT 也是非常强烈的对手吧，他也是赢下了根基，然后后边另一个队也是差点赢下吧，然后的话，还有什么来着？
你们队吗？
就这样吧。
So you think Vitality in their group is also a really strong team. So Vitality is also able to, beat Gen.G yesterday, and they almost win today as well. So they think Vitality is going to be a strong opponent.
well, you're playing against them tomorrow, and they're a team that's incredibly aggressive and almost unpredictable. So how do you really prepare for that?
所以你们明天就要跟 Vitality 打了嘛，然后他们其实进攻线很强，然后也很难预料，所以你们会怎么准备去面对他们？
应该也不会做什么特别的准备吧，就保持我们一贯的风格，就做好我们自己该做的事情就可以了。
So we'll just do normal preparation, just play our style, do what we do best, and it should be fine.
Xiaohu, thank you and congratulations again. And that's it for us. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Avli. Looking forward to that Vitality matchup tomorrow. Says, hey, normal prep. We can't, let anything get into our heads. If we keep doing our jobs the way they have been done, we'll keep coming away with the victories. But if we pull up the standings, we see that in Group A, Flash Wolves are on top. And the Freak of Freaks of all teams are at the bottom at 0-2. Followed by Group B with Royal Never Give Up in first, followed by Cloud9 and Vitality at 1-1, leaving reigning champs Gen.G winless. Group C returns tomorrow, and Group D started groups with Fnatic and Invictus Gaming each picking up 1 win. Of course, this was very interesting to see, but I also wanted to break things down regionally, just get a sense of how each region is performing here at Worlds, so we ranked them. LPL sits undefeated at the top, the only undefeated region remaining at Worlds.
And the LCK, which I'm here representing 1-4 down the bottom, and this is definitely the scoreline I look at, and I think a lot of people will look at, and plenty of sneering will be done. But if you talk about the 1-2 yesterday into the 1-4 today, we still saw the Korean teams really level up their performance. So even though the numbers are worse, I still come away with a lot of optimism today, even if the Korean teams didn't come away with any victories.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely insane that Korea is sitting at 1-4. You do have to keep in mind that their number one seed has only played one of those games, and it's the other two that have gone 0-2. But even that is crazy in the way that it's happened, because aside from Gen.G, if we look at pick-em percentages, I don't have them, I would imagine that both the Freak of Freaks and KT Rolster are expected to be clearly number one in their group. But we have I don't think that has ever happened before in World's history after 2 days to have them the lowest in the regional record.
Right, neither of you have a Korean team missing quarterfinals, right? I don't believe I do either.
That hasn't happened since 2013, when the group format was different. There were more teams in the group and only set number advanced. So it's insane, but to Papa Smithy's point, after watching the improvement we saw from Gen.G and the history of Korea, I expect them to bounce back to a point.
Right.
But I mean, this is probably going to be their worst group stage showing, just considering they already have 4 losses.
Already more losses in group stage than last year at Worlds for the entire region.
It's a world's worth of losses in the first 2 days.
Yeah, it's insane. But we have to remind ourselves that, 2 days in, we have seen greater comebacks when it comes to making it out of groups, and so still very possible for those teams to do it. Outside of a maybe disappointing start for LCK, what's maybe a nice surprise that you guys between regions? Obviously, EU LCS doing well, but LMS showing up in the Flash Wolves?
LMS in the EU LCS. I really want to track to see if Flash Wolves can actually become one of the world's powerhouses. It's too early to say after 2 games, but the fact that they are 2-0, look so convincing against Africa. You wonder if they could be a 6-0 group team. We saw at the top of the day, only 3 teams have gone 6-0 in this group stage in the last 4 years. So that's what I'm tracking, and the EU LCS has done great as well.
To me, it's how glass half full this Worlds is, because the only 2-0-2 teams are Gen.G and Africa. The 2 Korean teams, the only teams to have lost twice. We had PvP win today, which was a bit of a surprise result given their performance yesterday. The best thing about that, though, is there's no hopers 2 days in. There's no one who you're like, I can skip that game. Like, they've already been run over twice. The Korean teams may go on to lose further games, but not many people will be tipping 0-6s there. So even though some of that might be that every team hasn't played twice yet, there still is a lot of optimism that this World that's already had a lot of left turns potentially has a lot more. This is really exciting. The meta is still developing. Right now, the champion pool of what's good and what's bad, the what's good part seems to be pretty solidified. We're not going past, say, 35, 30 picks, but it's also only 2 days in. It's still some unexplored territory.
Right, let's dive into that a bit. We did just see the Lulu in the mid lane, right? So there's still some experimentation to be done. Priorities developing over these first 2 days that you guys think you might want to pull at or talk about.
Yeah, well, for this one, it's more of what's different from the play-in stage to the group stage right now, and I see that in the AD carry meta. I feel like in the play-in, Kai'Sa was just blind pickable by usually the Pool 1 teams that were at the top of it. And now it feels like Xayah is actually the blind pickable one that is being picked into almost any matchup, and oftentimes you're willing to pick it into Kai'Sa, and they're actually not letting the Kai'Sa get online.
And it's also a first pick Xayah scenario most often. We had that in the first 2 games of World, and it's largely been tracking from there. I think in the past, the thought was Rakan and a generic AD carry is better than Xayah and a generic support, but that hasn't borne true in this particular meta. It does very well. It's a consistent champion, has an escape with the ultimate, and in general, scales pretty well and has a decent laning phase. And when we see teams overcomplicate matters and go Kai'Sa Rakan, which is your first thought, right? Oh, the Kai'Sa's left open and we need to separate away the Rakan. That lane is so weak in the 2v2 that it's been kind of smashed in most games. So given the quirk of the meta, the Xayah priority, it used to be we have a player who's very singularly good at Xayah, like Uzi. Otherwise, you wouldn't reach for the Xayah. But now it's the tournament meta, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I see a lot of the other champions in the meta are influencing this. It's very difficult for an Aatrox to get on top of a Xayah. Even the better hard engaged champions like Ornn, Gragas, Leona, Alistar, Xayah can actually counter-engage a lot of those things. And still does large DPS. So those are things that Kai'Sa can't necessarily do in the late game team fight. So comp dependent, you could argue that Xayah can be better late.
Even in that final interview there with Xiaohu, he kind of talked about that final engage, knowing that Xayah's ultimate was down, and was an attempt to get the flash.
Yeah.
Right? They knew they still had one more defensive spell to get through before they could really capitalize. Yes, a misplay on the flash may have helped them out there. But again, it'll be very interesting to track champion priority as it, evolves throughout the tournament. We've seen things change late into the knockout stages in previous tournaments, and so I'm sure there is still plenty to come. One matchup that I wanted to isolate in tomorrow, we talked about IG versus Fnatic, as these teams only played